There we go. Fitness plus fatigue equals performance. So often, now when I talk about fitness, I'm not just talking like running, aerobic or anaerobic stuff. I'm talking strength, speed, power, your general fitness, your aerobic stuff. That's fitness. Fatigue is the byproduct of all of those. Put those together and you get performance. But performance, or the level of performance you achieve, will come down to how well you manage those two. And it's more so the fatigue part, the byproduct of your fitness work. And again, all of those athletic requirements. So if you don't manage that well, you won't get shiny stuff. But if you manage that really well, you get shiny stuff and more. Okay? So again, like I say, 8 years now with Israel, when we're fighting in local YMCAs and not much crowd, but is the exact same person. It's just now we got like 1,000 cameras following everywhere. It goes, so everyone goes, he's putting this on, he's doing that. No, shut your face. You weren't around 8, 9, 10 years ago. We're doing very much 80% of the same movements we've done 8 years ago. Progression. You want to get stronger? Well, fuck. You want to run a marathon but train on a bicycle? How is that going to work? So if you want to get better at something, you just got to be constant and, what's the word I'm looking for? Disciplined enough to understand the purpose of what you're doing. If you're doing it to go and just be, my friends are doing it, or that looks cool, then you probably lost sight of your goal. Your goal will always be your goal. Yeah, so never forget that. All right, so we always got to remember, we got to manage how much stress and how well are we monitoring the stress we place on our body to help us achieve this. And you're not going to get it right. Fuck, I didn't get it right. I broke a few people in my first few years. Not seriously. Whew. Like just little bits. But you learn. You constantly gotta be aware. Everything you do, whether you're a trainer like me, or S&C coach or fight coach, you have to stay aware like, fuck, I didn't see that today. But you'll only know you didn't see it if you were aware. But if you're just there in the motion, I got to go to training today and do it, applies to everyone in this room that turns up to training. If you're never aware of what you're doing, you're never going to know where you're going wrong. That 1 degree, fuck, I stepped there wrong. You have to stay aware. I always say, you got to be warmed up before the warm-up. Don't use the warm-up to warm up, because if you're using that, you're not warm, go home. So mentally, I'm talking about mentally. You got to be mentally ready to be at training. Ooh, just changed. There we go. Don't mind me and I'm just going to put it down to ADHD too. Fitness fatigue model is, I'm going to really talk really fast with this. I don't want you to get confused by all the lines and all of this shit. But basically, when you train, all right, whether it's strength, whether it's in the fight gym or whatever exercise you are doing, whatever session, you get an immediate fitness effect, positive training effect, and then you get a negative fatigue effect. And that's the byproducts of training. You're tired, you're fatigued, you're spent. Preparedness or performance, sometimes it's known as, is low. You're not going to perform very well straight after your session. And if you've been to, I've been to many CKB sessions, and especially, I think the wrestling, for me, that's the worst session, as in hard. When I say worst, I mean it's hard. That shit's hard. So after that session, you ain't going to perform very well. You're probably not going to perform very well a day after as well. A day and a half maybe as well. You're still going to be trying to catch up. So there's this time management that we have to use, and it's in our taper, and it's in our taper of the week. But now, because we have so much technology today, whether it be heart rate or watches that tell you what's happening, you need to sleep here, or you've expended this amount of energy, these are things you can keep track of. And one of the easiest way, if you don't have technology, RPE. And we all know what RPE is? Yeah, so just an exertion scale of 1 to 10. 10 mean I'm dead, 1, I'm good to go. So one of the other boys in CKB, All I ask him to do now is, after every session, just 1 to 10 in a book, write down where you're at. Come back in the middle of the day, 1 to 10 where you're at. End of the day, 1 to 10 where you're at. Add it all up, divide by 3, you got your average RPE for that day. Sunday, or whenever it is your rest day, have a look at your week and look at what your RPE was doing. If you fancy with like Excel and stuff, I'm not. I get people to do Excel for me because I'm proper dumb on the computer. I don't know how I made it through university. Get them to plot it for you, your numbers on a graph. And you can see, okay, fuck. But what did I do in that day? Did I sleep well the night before? Was my water intake good? Was my food? Now you make notes of that. Boom, next week. Did I adjust what I was doing? Because you can't really change, press something. You can't really change week by week because then you're not going to have that consistency of forward progression. So things are very repetitive. So simple, just write an RPE down, and it may seem like, but you got phones. Yeah, you got notes. You don't need a book. I'm very old school. So just put it in your calendar or something, RPE, just time, boom. You can monitor, and it's an unreal tool. It's being used still around the world by